Call this organizational meeting of the school board to order at 7 o'clock. Linda, if you could do the roll call, please.
Yes, Paula Kane.
Here.
Brianna Woodworth.
Here.
Donald Woodworth.
Here.
Jack Sapia.
Here.
Shauna Manthorn.
Here.
Mark Sherwood.
Here.
Kristen Savage.
Here.
Adi Knutson.
Here.
And Kim McCormick.
Here. We could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. So, Linda, for the record, I just want to state that our superintendent, Chris Kellen, is not here tonight, but he's excused, so shouldn't anybody be wondering. So next is we're going to be talking about reorganization, but first I want to welcome Mr. Woodworth. I'm going to call you that all the time. I can't call you Don. I'm going to have a real problem with that one. So. Jack Sapia. Congratulations. Paula Kane.
A few other things, I'm sure.
You may, no.
Are they hot mics?
No, I know, really. And Brianna. Bree, okay, Bree Woodworth, and welcoming back Shauna. And I would like to, we never had a chance, I think we didn't really think of it, but I wanted to say to Michael Boucher, who was here and served for the town of Atkinson, who was in a contested race with Jack, and Jack won the seat, but I wanted to thank Michael for his time that he served with us for the past year, too. So thank you very much, Michael. I have a feeling we'll be seeing you again at some point, too. So I know you're watching, so thank you. So that all being said, our first order of business is to elect a chair going forward as to who's going to lead us for the next year. So it's just for a one-year period. With that, I'm going to ask for nominations. And if no one's jumping on it, I'm going to jump in.
I'll nominate Katie.
Okay. I'm seconding that because I was going to nominate Kate as well. I just wanted to state that the reason why I'm nominating Kate is, one, she's been serving on the board the longest beside me. Mark and Kim have also been serving, but it's my understanding neither one of them are interested in serving in the chair position. Katie has been working beside myself and as well as Brian Boyle. We've been trying to kind of teach her some of the ropes along the way because she did state an interest that she would like to consider serving this year. So I do think she would be a good fit. I think she's definitely interested in it and definitely ready to jump on board and knows what she's getting into. So, so I will again second your nomination. Do we have any other nominations? So if we don't, I will call for a vote. All those in favor of Katie serving as chair for the next year? 1, 2, I have 8 opposed. You cannot oppose. I'm abstaining. I'm abstaining. So it is 801. Congratulations, Katie. It is all yours.
Thank you very much. I look forward to serving you guys. So in saying that and accepting this, the next order of business is to nominate a vice chair. Is there any nominations for a vice chair at this time?
I'd like to nominate Kristen Savage for vice chair.
And I will second that. Any other nominations? Seeing that there is none, I will call for a vote. All those in favor, raise your hand. Opposed? You cannot. And abstained. 8-1. Thank you, Kristen, for being vice chair. All right, next order of business is appointments to be presided. Let's see. So the first thing we have to do is appointment by district clerk. We have to go through each one of these and get a nomination and then a second and vote. Is that correct?
Yes, we do.
Okay. So the first position is going to be our district clerk, which is Kathleen Lancaster. So could I get a motion?
I make a motion to nominate Kat Lancaster as the district clerk.
A second.
Okay. Motion by Kristen, second by Shauna. Any discussion? Okay. All those in favor, raise your hand. Opposed and abstained. 9-0-0-0. All right. Congratulations, Kathleen. The next person is the school board recording secretary, which is Linda Mahoney. So if I could get a motion.
I'll make a motion that we appoint Linda Mahoney as our school board recording secretary again.
Second.
And seconded by Mark Sherwood. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? And abstained.
Welcome
9-0.
back, Linda.
Yeah, welcome back. Thank you, ma'am.
Linda.
Right, so school treasurer is our next, which is Kathy, is it Beatty?
Yep.
Kathy Beatty. If I could get a motion for Kathy Beatty, please.
I'll make a motion to reappoint Kathy Beatty as school treasurer.
I'll second that.
Motion by Kim, second by Kristen. Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand. Opposed and abstain, 9-0. All right, the next one is the assistant school treasurer, which is Gloria Dodge. If I could get a motion for Gloria, please.
Make a motion to reappoint Gloria Dodge as assistant school treasurer.
I'll second that motion.
Motion and second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed and abstain. And then school council. So what do we do for this one?
So we have several attorneys that represent us in different matters moving forward. So our school counsel, who is helps us with the administration portion mostly, is Drummond and Woodson. And I would make a motion that we reappoint Drummond and Woodson for that role.
I'll second that.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Okay, 9-0. All right, is there anybody else for council that we need to talk about? Or is that it?
No, we'll address that later.
Okay. So, bonding, the school treasurer. So we need a motion to act on bonding school treasurer and assistant school treasurer in accordance with RSA 197:22 and policy DH.
And we have that policy in our agenda packet.
Simple as so moved.
Go right ahead.
So moved by Jack. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Shauna. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? And abstain. 9-0. All right. Next thing is our,
Designation of banks,
yes, which is
TD Bank.
TD Bank. Yep.
So moved.
So moved by Jack.
Second.
Second by Shauna. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? And abstain. 9-0. Is there anything else we need to do? What else do we need to do?
Review the policies.
Yes.
We have them here. Did I skip through them? Nope, they're stuck.
So we've got the DFA, right? So you have policy DFA, which is an
Investment policy.
investment policy. We have ECAR, which has to do with our member ethics and expectation. And then I don't see.
It's
on the back.
That's what I was trying to, Risk management.
EI, which is risk management.
So we
yes.
just need to reaffirm these policies.
So could I get a motion to reaffirm policy DFA, EI?
Just DFA,
Do we have to do them individually?
DFA and EI.
Okay.
And the new board needs to sign
Then-
DFAR.
The which one?
ECA. So,
Only new members?
no, everyone needs to do that first, but.
Okay.
So the first thing is I will make a motion that we reaffirm policies DFA and EI.
I'll second.
Second by Jack. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? And abstained. 9-0.
And then the next is the, procedure BCA-R, which is our school board member ethics and expectations.
Yes.
If everyone can just take a minute to read this, and if there's any questions or whatnot, we can talk about it. If not, everyone needs to sign it and then give it then back to Kelly.
Yeah. So we'll just pass it this way.
Yeah, so if everyone can take a moment and review and sign.
You guys should have one of those in your packet. You should have one in your packet.
I was just like, trying to think of the miraculous.
What's the date on it?
23rd.
3/23/23.
Oh, look at that.
It is a pain.
The first time I wrote it down.
Thursday of the month.
Yeah, for most purposes. There we go.
We don't need
Sticky
to,
note on one of these.
do we need a motion on what we signed on, or we good?
No, it was just a review, just everyone needed to look it over and sign that, so that's.
Does anybody have any questions about that policy which you just signed? Hope not. Seeing none, we're going to move on to the designated dates, times, and place for our monthly meetings. This is due to policy BEA, and all this is stating is that the board will meet on the first and third Thursdays of each month at the SAU 106 Administrative Building. The board may change the time, date, or the location of regular meetings and may add or remove meetings as they deem necessary.
And
Go ahead.
we have the draft in our packet, if everyone has that, so.
Yep.
That's, we're just approving that going forward. And I haven't double checked this, I'm assuming none of these are holidays or any, we're good to go.
Okay.
So. So is there any question on that, or?
Any questions about the dates?
So I'm going to make a motion to approve the schedule that was provided of the 2023-2024 school year dates for meetings.
I will second that.
Motion by Kristen, second by Shauna. Is there any discussion about the dates? Seeing that there is none, all those in favor? Opposed and abstained, 900. All right.
To clarify, those will be held here?
Yes, ma'am, unless something else changes. All right. So that concludes our reorg, correct?
Yeah, except I do want to, in our packet, and
Yeah, go ahead.
we had talked about, there is a packet of webinars and trainings and things that are available to everyone. We can definitely talk about this more, but if everyone can take the time and look through it, and if you're interested in anything, or if you're aware of anything, I'm sure for all the new members, you will start to get emails if you haven't already from the New Hampshire School Board Association. They're in lots of trainings, lots of availability. It's open for anyone. So if there's something out there that you want to do, let us know. And it can be done. You can do it on your own. We can do it as a group. I mean, there's all different opportunities and whatnot. There's a lot to learn. So you think you know stuff and you realize you really don't. And so it's good to take advantage of them when you can. So Paul, did you have a question? Or Bree? Somebody had a...
I do.
I was like,
Jack.
Jack, do I have
Can we
questions?
talk about the committee assignments?
Yes.
Do we do that now in the
We're doing that in
organizational
the
meeting,
next-
or
We're going to do that. It's in the next...
It's in the organizational
is
meeting.
that in the next meeting?
Yeah, it's in the next.
Okay,
It's on the
fine.
next agenda.
Fine.
So. Okay, so you can close out this one and then...
Do we need a motion for adjournment? Motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn. Bree?
I'll second.
Shauna, second.
those in favor.
All those in favor? Opposed and abstained, 900.
Wish they were all that quick. No.
All right, so that's that.
Moving on.
Moving
Well,
on.
technically,
What?
We're 15 minutes ahead, we could take a
we're
recess.
15 minutes ahead.
What a board.
Does that matter? It does matter?
Yes, for people who wanted to.
Because if there's a delegate that wants to come. Yep.
So
So
then
it
we
doesn't
need to
matter.
take a 15-minute recess?
We can take a 15-minute recess, or we could,
Roll ahead, then ask in
Yeah.
15 minutes if there's a delegate. Just change the order.
Yeah, you could have delegations and individuals at 7 o'clock.
or we could call the order and we could go into a quick non-public.
Let's do that.
Yeah, and we do that.
Okay.
Sorry, everyone.
We won't be long.
We have to-
Yeah, we need a motion.
Huh? No, we're gonna open the meeting and then we're
Yeah.
we'll
So
go into
we
a
are
quick
gonna
non-public and
open-
come back, because I just don't wanna,
So we're going to open the school board meeting at 7:16 p.m. and we are going to be going into a quick non-public under RSA.
you have to call it to order first.
Oh, call. I did call to order. Call to order.
just to do.
Linda has to
Linda
call.
should do a roll call.
Oh,
real
you got to do
quick.
another roll call. Sorry.
Okay.
My
All right.
bad.
Paula Kane,
Here.
Brianna Woodward.
Yes.
Donald Woodworth, Jack Sapia.
Yes.
If I'm not pronouncing your name right, just let me
No,
know.
that's I've been called worse.
Shauna Manthorn.
Yes.
Mark Sherwood.
Yes.
Kristen Savage, Katie Knutson.
Yes.
Kid McCormick.
Yes.
Here.
Okay, now,
Okay, now, if somebody wants to make a motion to go into non-public under,
let's see. 91
I
A.
know we're gonna do council.
Do you want to do council? Which one is it? L. L.
Someone make the motion.
Yeah, we can go in under L.
Under L.
91A:3 dash.
L.
So is this non-public or no?
Say so moved.
So moved. Sorry. Do you need a motion?
Second it.
All right. Motion by Shauna.
Now we
second
need a roll call vote.
by- Yeah, now you say yes.
I'm gonna get your name down, Pat. Yes. Paula Kane.
Yes.
Brianna Woodworth.
Free, yes.
Bree.
We have to change your nameplate because we're all gonna do that now.
Donald Woodworth.
Yep.
Jack Sapia.
Yes.
Shauna Manthorn.
Yes.
Mark Sherwood.
Yes.
Kristen Savage.
Yes.
Katie Knutson.
Yes,
And Kim McCormick.
Yes.
and we will be back
We will be back for 7:30.
for 7:30.
Sorry, gang.
Any discussion on the minutes? All those in favor? 5 in favor. Oppose and abstain. 4 abstain.
And then we have a set of non-public, so.
Then we have a set of non-public. And I will entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Got a motion to
I'll
accept.
second it.
Second by Savage. Any discussion? All those in favor? Right. 5, 4, opposed, and then abstain. Now you can. 4.
Now we need these.
And then we need these back, please.
Yeah, I know, I'm just gonna make a note here for our non-public
All right,
discussion
grammar.
here.
Grammar police.
What he's doing over there?
Probably.
I never got one. I don't got it.
I'll remember.
Sorry.
Oh, here we go.
Okay. All right. Do we have any delegates or individuals?
No, we do not.
We do not at this time. All right, well then next we will let the floor be to our student rep, so go for it.
Thank you. I kind of have a short little summary for you about what's been going on, which is a nice change from my 4-page report usually.
Come on, Matt.
The high school, Project Hope, had their 14th annual fashion show on March 11th. Project Hope was able to raise over $16,000 this year, breaking their yearly goal of $10,000. Thank you to everyone who donated to Project Hope this year, and a big shout out to Miss Trainer and Miss Bird for making the fashion show possible. Mr. Vaccarezza is taking groups of 8th graders up to the high school for a tour to get them acquainted with high school and where their classes will be. The theater and music department is in rehearsals right now for My Fair Lady. The show will be running May 4th, 5th, and 6th. High school spring sports kicked off on Monday, March 20th, with the middle school beginning on Monday, March 27th. High school sports are coming into the season with 30 coaches on staff and just under 600 student athletes registered for a spring sport alone. The first home events will take place on April 10th where you can watch baseball, girls tennis, boys lacrosse, and volleyball all in one day. Tonight is art night in the Pack Recital Hall. Songs, poetry, dance, and theater will be presented. SATs occurred this week. Juniors participated. Testing days were Wednesday and Thursday. All state band and chorus is happening March 30th through April 1st. There will be no school district-wide on March 28th due to Teacher Workshop Day. Junior Semi is this Saturday, March 25th, and the theme is a Starry Night. Danville Elementary, Dr. Furman, first grade teacher, and several other Timberlane educators were recognized at the 5th Annual Plastow Community YMCA Education Celebration last night. Several Danville staff and students celebrated World Down Syndrome Day by rocking their socks at school on Tuesday, March 21st. The PTA is looking forward to hosting one of their biggest events of the school year next Friday, March 31st. Students and families are welcome to enjoy a fun-filled evening and bring home several new or gently used books to read. Sandown Central. On Tuesday, March 21st, Sandown kindergarten students rock their socks in celebration of World Down Syndrome Day with a presentation of Down syndrome by Mrs. Dessou. Mrs. Dessou was celebrated last night at the 5th Annual Plastow Community YMCA Education Celebration, honoring educators who have made a positive impact on students' education. Congratulations. A team of middle school students spent the weekend learning about leadership at the Leaders in Prevention retreat hosted by New Hampshire Teen Institute. The students developed an action plan to help keep the middle school looking great. 7th grade science classes extracted DNA from strawberries as part of their genetics unit. They made observations using both fields and stereo microscopes. And that's it.
That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Matthew.
We're gonna get some Timberlane swag. I gotta get a hat or something for the spring baseball season. To open up that store, I looked today, couldn't find it. I gotta find some hats.
Oh, well, we can get you one for all the different teams. We were all
My
set with
son
that.
has- my son has one left over from baseball.
Oh, yeah, I'll take it.
All right, well, thank you for that update, and congratulations with the success of Project Hope. That's
you.
great.
Matt did a great job again as a leader. It was,
Thank you.
Yes.
he was all smiles and had a great night.
So moving on to current business, the first thing we're going to talk about is election results, and we as a board just want to thank everybody and all the voters and all the towns for passing everything. We really appreciate, I know it was not optimal weather, so, but again, congratulate to the new board members, and again, we thank you as a board for passing everything. Is there anything you wanted to?
No, I mean,
One second.
I guess I'm still speechless over it because I can't really, I didn't necessarily assume everything was going to pass. There were definitely strong arguments either way. We, as a district, needed them to pass. It's a great thing for our unions. We needed to move forward. We need to start putting some things behind us. TTA is a 1 year, so we're going to be back in negotiating TTA for hopefully a multi-year contract this time around, and hopefully we'll have one for the next election. The lease, again, I know that was a tough pill for a lot of people to swallow, including me, but these buildings need work, and we can't afford to ask for a new building right now, and which building would it be if you picked one? I mean, there's so many of them that need work, so at least this way, it's a way to get something into all of our buildings and start to do something to enhance them, and then we do have, clearly the money that's normally in the budget that we were always putting to Band-Aid and try to fix things, we might be able to do some other projects. I know Carl's going to talk about that more, so I'm not going to say anything more. I'll stop now. But, I mean, as Katie said, I know it was difficult for a lot of people. I think it's a good thing. It's a good thing for the district. It's going to be tough, but a new school would have been tougher. Would have been better, but it would have been tough. We can't fix all the schools at once, so, so it's kind of how it is, and that's all. Ja?
Yeah, I just, from the town of Atkinson's perspective, I want to thank Mike and Brian, especially Brian, for his years of dedication and the input that he had here on the board, whether it be from a construction standpoint or negotiating standpoint. I've seen their contributions to the community. So, on behalf of Atkinson, thank you very much for your service. And I think, no one understands that this isn't a one-night-a-week job. It's 30, 40 hours a week, and for some, a little bit more. So thanks to those two gentlemen, and I look forward to working with everyone on the board.
Welcome aboard, Jack.
I did have an observation, just from the deliberative session especially. There's a kind of a tradition of a conservative approach towards budget, and any improvements we've made have been a struggle to get over the past several years. I thought that it was a creative way to go about things, to go for that lease approach, and I think there was a level of honesty about our situation at that meeting that people had to recognize and accept. And I think it made a big difference that, the board and the budget committee were aligned across the board on all budgetary issues, including the teacher contracts, and that hopefully goes next time. But I think that, that type of, respect that the board has earned over time in terms of being careful about what they spent may have been rewarded, now that they went and asked for something that was significant. And I hope that continues.
I'll second that motion.
It's not a motion.
All right, any other further discussion on election results? Okay. Next thing that we have are, in your packet, you have a page that has open committee seats and just all of our committees that we have in general. It's on the back of that. It also has when these various committees meet, along with the times. We are not going to pick committees tonight, but what I do ask is that members look at this and just email me your top 3, your first choice, second, third, and go from there. And then we'll look at next time. But Jack, what did you have?
Yeah, quick question. So as I saw that chart, it looked like people were already predetermined on some of these committees. Is that the case?
There are committees that we're already all sitting on and we'd like to continue on. But what we're asking is if everyone can tell us what your top choices are. So
I'm going to give you my quick spiel, and I can't tell you how excited I am about being here because I think the dynamic on this board is really good. I really do. But historically, there's always been a process and a procedure in place where the committees are all left open.
Yep.
Everyone goes to the chair and explains, and there's a reason for that, where they want to be, and they get to explain their level of expertise and past experience.
And that's what you're still going to do.
you want to be on facilities.
Well,
We know. We'll just say it, Jack.
well,
It's-
with 20 years vested in these buildings,
No,
myself,
and we understand that.
That's what we're saying. Just give us what your top choices are because
well, I wouldn't have, based on this,
it doesn't.
I wouldn't have.
No,
Well, that's
That
why
was an
I'm telling, and this
opportunity.
is why I
Okay.
am
We're
telling
just-
you what to do.
Fair enough.
Which
That's
is,
it.
this is currently where people
Jeez,
are
that would
sitting.
make you my wife.
I am. This is currently where every member of the board is sitting on, but I
Okay.
want everybody, give me your top 3, email it to me, and if.
Fair enough.
Like me and Kristen are in facilities, but, if you're gung-ho about it, I'm sure me or her would not
I mean,
care to
this
give
is-
you that
and
thing.
philosophically, where I come from, everyone on this board brings a different dynamic
For sure.
to the board and a different level of expertise. And I think where those people sit on those committees should be based on where they can service the district the most. That's my hope. So
no
very
one's
good.
disagreeing with you
I won't
on
talk
that.
I won't talk the rest of the night.
No.
I'll second
I'm
that
not
motion.
holding my breath.
I get to throw a water bottle at you. You already told me I can if no.
Yeah, absolutely.
But no, that's, 100% agree with that. And that's why we're saying just, if there's ones that you want to be on, just tell us what you want. Like we're saying, these are the committees we all served on. We'd like to have, we don't want to take everyone off and start fresh because you need that historical and you need to move forward. But, if everybody wants to be on one, then we'll have to
just
figure it out.
Give you
So,
some
and
notes,
then-
and
Yep.
then it's up to you, because you're the
Yep.
chair.
Yep,
Remember, I
well,
voted for you.
But we want to, be fair across the board and get everyone where they belong and what makes the most sense as far as being able to move forward,
I
have
totally-
and
Totally agree.
and go in that direction, so.
Are there general descriptions of the committees in their purview?
I don't think they're in the packet.
Or I can Google most of them.
Or you can
Email
ask
them.
somebody that sat on one,
Okay.
and find out, and that's the one thing I would say, is just make sure you, like, look at the schedule and it's something that you can meet, because the last thing we want to do is have somebody, like, safety committee meets during the day, and it's a good 2-hour meeting, and
you
so
have to
you
have
want to
both
make sure,
vendors.
yeah. So there's certain things like that, so, but if you aren't sure about something, I mean, you can ask the question here, you can ask us, or you can ask somebody that served on it before, and we'll gladly tell you what we.
So in the past, when I first sat on the board for the first time, we had mentors. So a new member wasn't shotgunning anyway. If you had a question, you could go to, like, Paul, you feel free to, instead of, you're gonna be super busy. You're already super busy. And I don't know if you guys still have that discipline, if you,
I don't know if it's necessarily everyone's paired up with one person, but it's
Yeah,
pretty
no,
much an
I
open
just-
door.
I didn't know.
I mean,
That's
it's a 4 to 5, so it's a pretty much open door situation. I mean, if you have a question, you get in touch with who might be able to help you in that area. But, I mean, I think at any point in time,
Yep.
anyone's willing to do that, so.
Paul, at some point in time, you're going to get access to a SharePoint site from.
I have that, I believe, yeah.
Yeah, so the committee information is in there. That's how I figured it out my first time around. Yeah.
Yeah, some of them are obvious, and then some like wellness committee, the wellness, that's a big area, and what we actually focus on would be cool. So, yeah, I'll look at that, thank you.
Okay. So like I said, these are not set in stone, it's just where people are currently placed, but look at them, email me their top 3, and then we'll go over them at our next meeting. Any other questions, comments, or concerns about the committee meetings or anything like that?
Are the wellness and safety still paired on the same day?
No,
No? Okay.
do not believe.
No, when do you,
No,
no,
wellness is like a Wednesday afternoon.
Wednesday afternoon, safety's in the,
Morning on a Tuesday.
we've been doing it every 2 months now? 2 months on a Tuesday? 'Cause that's, yeah, like 10 o'clock, and it usually goes
Wellness is
till 12, and
quarterly.
then
I don't even see
facilities says,
energy on here. Is that,
excuse me?
does energy even have a meeting?
What was on energy?
I was.
You were on
it was
energy, and
as
how
needed.
often did you meet? It was,
I didn't meet at all in my short time on the board.
so.
There's no date set.
Yeah, there's no date.
That was.
We had one scheduled, but we didn't do it because we had
Paul wants
CIP
energy
instead.
right now.
Wait,
No,
Maria?
I'm kidding.
I actually, with the energy one, I would like to raise the question, do we actually need an energy committee right now? Because the energy focus, the focus of the energy committee was the LED lighting projects in all the schools.
And now that's gonna be kind of
That's
lumped in with the lease.
That's probably gonna be the first phase of the lease, so.
And that's something I wanted to spin off of this too, because what I would like to, and again, I know Carl's gonna talk about the lease, I don't wanna be jumping ahead. But,
Well, he's next, so you just want to come on down?
is he next? You wanna
is
just come on down? We'll kind of merge into all of this? Because, again, in talking about the election results and going down the, I mean, clearly, this lease is something new and unique to us. The number could have been a lot higher. The number was higher, and it was pared down to the 25 for certain projects, certain things, and with a certain focus in mind. That being said, and again, I don't want to take Carl's thunder, but, we need to figure out our plan of how we're addressing this, what we're doing, how, what projects are going to take priority and go down that road, and because clearly, there's public interest in this, there should be. Where as a board, we want to have regular updates, at least bi-monthly, I think we were talking, is that what we said?
Yeah.
Bi-monthly, yeah, updates coming in as to what we're doing, where the money, where it's being spent, kind of what the balance is, just so we're keeping everyone in the public, apprised as to what we're doing and what's happening. We also were talking about whether or not it makes sense, and I think it does, unless someone can talk me out of it, is to have some sort of a subcommittee. So maybe getting rid of energy, but adding something on a little bit more to address this lease, and I'm not sure where we want to put that under.
So like a construction committee.
Yes, basically a construction committee to focus on the lease and allow some input and potentially have 1 or 2 citizens on that to be involved as well, because this is a big project, and I think we should have a voice.
So,
Jack,
To your point,
Yep.
I was thinking, like, as you sit here in your formula and you got all this energy coming out of the box, that maybe what you do is you cut back on the meetings a little bit on CIP and bring a couple of their, because CIP had a little bit something, and you form, basically all of it runs through facilities, right? But it's a very laser-focused group, maybe a little bit different than facilities has always been, because this is a very unusual opportunity for us to execute, and it's got to be flawless to maintain the trust of the voters.
Absolutely.
And when I think about energy, that particular committee could be doing forward-looking things, things that we can't afford or work on today, and maybe, but again, I think you consolidate a couple of these committees into that, basically doing what you suggested, but in a slightly different way, because there have been people on the CIP committee dedicated to the facilities, for lack of a better term, for the last 10, 15 years, et
Go
cetera,
ahead,
et
Maria.
cetera.
Well,
She's been trying to talk less.
so obviously, we just passed last week, so I have only had a week. We have only had a
Yep.
week to digest this. I actually, we met with EI on Friday. I met today with leasing consulting company. I'm gonna be bringing forward to the board next meeting an entire summary of what we had been doing. I am exploring the best options for the financing. Obviously, I want to see what is going with a leasing consulting company, what is doing it on our own, what that entitles, and what is the best option for us to go. After the conversation today with the leasing company, I am extremely excited. The approach that we discussed with EEI will be to phase out the projects. We're gonna phase out probably in 4 or 5 phases, where the first phase will be this summer. We already have about $3 million in projects that we are currently working on, and that we have part of it is scheduled for this summer. So phase 1, we will like to be probably about between 3 and 3.5 million, which will be basically the lighting, which is the one that is gonna result in fastest savings. That's why we go first with the lighting, because that's what is gonna give us the biggest savings. So that will be about 3.5 million, is phase 1 this summer. In talking to the leasing company, as soon as we realize so we get into a master lease. A master lease allows you to phase out your project, and you only borrow the piece that you're gonna use, right? So that 3.5, if that is phase 1, we borrow the 3.5, we only start paying interest on only 3.5, and the first payment is not due until a year after we borrow the money.
Great.
So if we borrow the money this June, the first payment is not due until the next June.
Good.
So that first lease payment that is in the budget, the $2.1 million, goes right back to the taxpayers in year 1.
Great, good.
So,
Wow.
something good,
Yeah.
something
So
positive.
it's not gonna be an immediate impact.
Say that last part
It's
one
gonna-
more time.
So, if we realize say if we finalize the lease to start June 1st. If we started June 1st, the first payment for that lease is
Yep.
is not due until June of
So
2024.
it's not gonna be an immediate
So
impact
it's the
on the tax
following
bill.
fiscal year. We
Okay.
already have
I
in
was
the
with you till that point.
24 fiscal year, we already have the lease payment, which is the warrant article 2 that added a $2 million line to the budget for the lease payment.
Yeah.
On year 1, on 2024, we're not gonna use it. So that $2 million will go right back to the taxpayers for relief.
And just to clarify, we would also not have interest on that because we're paying it back, or no?
Right, so once we start making the payments, the interest start running, but it's only gonna be on 3.5 million
Not on
that first
25,
year.
yeah.
Then when we implement phase 2, we borrow, so we were thinking probably do like between 6 and 8 million per phase, because there's no way we can handle more than that.
Can't do it all,
The
that's
size
right.
that we have. We did actually ask EEI for a in-house project manager for our project. So it's gonna be a full-time in-house manager overseeing all of our projects.
And does that cost?
Nope, that's included in the in our performance contract that we have with them that.
So.
Mark
could
is
you
next.
Just for the new,
Let Mark
oh,
go.
I'm sorry.
During these discussions, I'm guessing there was conversations about the rates and locking the rates in, so I think it's great if you're only gonna use 3 million, you only, are paying interest in 3 million. If for phase two, we're talking to 6 to 8 million, I'm guessing there are considerations in the thought process. Okay, so what if the interest rates go up? The Fed raised it, 25 basis points today. Probably the end of it, according to my magic ball, but these are things that obviously you're entertaining and thinking about.
Yes, so this is one, I'm gonna say there's two main advantages of why I will recommend to go with a leasing consulting company. The first one is they watch the rates daily, right? That's their business, that's what they do. That's not what we do here. So they will watch the rates daily. They will absolutely, as soon as the rates go under what we're fixed on, they will tell us and we can immediately refinance.
Refund. Awesome.
So that is one of the advantages. The other thing to watch for is the prepayment, because obviously as soon as we find, as soon as they find the institution or we find the institution, I want to make sure that the prepayment clauses are absolutely clear. Because if somehow, or we get some relief for something else like COVID or something else and we can start prepaying, absolutely I want that clear and go for any prepayment that we can do. So I will I still have one more meeting with our bank and other things to look at, because again, I only had 1 week, so. But I think the advantages of going with with a leasing consulting company are huge, because that's what they do. And the bank pays their fees. We don't pay their fees.
So back to my initial conversation here. This is all new, and that's what I'm throwing out some ideas, and you had great ideas, like do it through. We need to. Everyone needs to kind of think about that, like what makes the most sense for our individual groups and committees, because maybe it is like you said. Maybe energy kind of comes out, but it goes back. It's kind of refocused into something else, and I think we need to figure that out and how we want to structure anything going forward, just to make sure that we have the right groups focusing on what our needs are currently.
Absolutely, and I want to speak for Carl and I that we appreciate anybody and everybody's help and collaboration and company and support on all these projects, because I mean it's us, right? It's our community. We're doing this together, and we appreciate any help that anybody wants to offer or give, and any knowledge that anybody has, because Carl and I have been together for 1.5 years here doing this, but I know a lot of you have a lot of knowledge that we don't have.
So you rarely hear me say I don't know something, but this is one of those times. What is our obligation right now to EEI? Are they going to see these projects all the way through? We're gonna have is that something that we've already entered into an agreement with?
Yes, so we had we put a bid out for a performance contract. We had two companies that responded. After the committee, we have a committee overseeing the bid process. And after the decision was made, we went with EEI. EEI then went and did an evaluation of all of our buildings.
Right.
And that's the reason why I said I don't think an energy committee is needed, because the focus of the energy committee was the lighting and the solar panels, lighting, energy improvements. And all that was taken into consideration in the review that they did.
The other question I have for Carl is, we're gonna phase this in. Is there a way to get like phase 2 hard numbers so we don't get caught up, and if we go out 3 or 4 phases, get caught up in the construction inflation spiral?
We can, obviously, it's not set on stone, because we are at the mercy of supply. We are at the mercy of, as you all know, today you can find something and tomorrow it's not there anymore. So yes, we can have a tentative schedule, and EEI has, we actually, through the meeting, we work with them on kind of setting up a schedule. I will not say it's set on stone, and I would definitely not set it in stone, because again, we are weird times, which who knows what happens tomorrow. But yeah, it's definitely, we have definitely started a schedule with EEI, which again, we will put to you guys at this like our recommendation of this is how we think we should phase it out based on these priorities or on these, which to me right now, the main priority that I will recommend is the biggest savings that we can realize early on. So then by the time we phase it out, we had the time to realize the largest savings.
Mark, did you have a comment? Are you good?
You were sarcastic, so I'll retract.
I'm gonna let Carl speak. How are you doing today, Carl?
I am living the dream, thank you. I do want to say, when I got here, they had a very vast CIP list, and most of it was replace stuff in kind, so, I mean, the money was not anywhere near where it needed to be to do things right. So that's when I asked if we could bring in a performance contracting service company. I've done this before at other districts. It's a great way. My problem was I didn't realize how big the issues were here. Usually, when I got to my last district, they had started a project and they were gonna replace unit ventilators in the classroom for, they're terrible energy hogs and they're noise makers. They're not good for classes anymore. They're not recommended for classes. That's when I brought EEI on board. They did a performance contract in addition to changing the unit ventilators to rooftop energy recovery ventilation units, which saves us money, and it increases the comfort levels of each unit of the classrooms. And on top of that, they helped pay for this by also changing all the lighting to LED lighting, which helped pay for, it was a net zero project. That's what a true performance contract is supposed to do. They come in, they make changes, and the project pays for itself through the lease, so you can pay for it. Unfortunately, there's just so much that needs to be done right now that we couldn't do a true performance contract, so they came forward with recommendations. The windows are on the list. I know we've had some talk about the windows at the high school. They're a $2.5 million cost. The rate of return on investment of that is not anywhere near what the lighting is, and that's why that wasn't on the project. So it is there, it is studied, but we just didn't have, we figured $2.5 million could go better toward boilers, HVAC, things that are critical to running our buildings, and that's why we went with that.
I'm a big fan of following the data, but, it seems like we have a lot of that. And when I went down that list and I looked at the windows, it said, what did it say? It said, study to be determined. And
I think you were looking at the wrong line. I think that what you were looking at was the building envelope, and that was the $100,000 that we're actually spending already to study the CMU blocks that are having issues through 5 of our buildings. I
Yeah,
think
no,
that's
I can help you with that.
I think you,
Yeah. No,
So-
that's what I did for 20 years,
Yep.
so, yeah, that's.
and I'm looking for any help I can get, so.
The other question, do you mind? One other
Well,
question?
are you done with your facilities update? Are you
Well,
ready for
no, I
questions?
haven't even
Well,
touched
then-
the
I'm sorry.
Well,
facilities
then let's go
update
for
yet,
it.
so.
That's what you're up here for. Let's go.
So, in my executive summary, I tried to show you what we've done since my arrival in 2021, to give you a list of things that we have been doing. We've been very busy in the facilities department. As you can see, I'm not gonna go over everything. If you have a question about one of them, feel free to ask. But I will start down where it says projects currently in progress. Now, these are the ones that have been funded through ESSER, which has been an ongoing thing since last summer. Getting HVAC units is not a quick thing right now, so we're still waiting for those to come in, and they're gonna be put in over this summer. Those are the 4 largest HVAC units in the middle school. You'll see we also asked for the rest of the units in some of the projects moving forward. Other projects that are in progress are the track renovation. We're still trying to finalize the contracts for that, but we got a partially 50% matching grant for that from the federal government, so that's a positive thing to be done. That track has needed some help. Get the lead out, where I've finished testing all but the high school, and we've addressed all the issues that came up at all the schools except the high school. I just haven't had the means to get the high school tested. I got 300 outlets that need to be sampled, sent out, and I just haven't, I have to flush them the day before, nobody can touch the water, so I've been coming in on weekends doing all the other schools, and I tried to do it over vacation. We had a water line that needed to be replaced, so I had no water to flush the system, so kind of threw a monkey wrench in my plans. Just to let you know, if we have to do this again, I'm gonna hire somebody, so. So anything that tested above the limit, 5.5 parts per billion, we've either remediated, locked out, shut off, turned off, or made it so it's just for hand washing use only. So we did go, I did go above and beyond. Anything that had any lead in it that was a water bubbler or was used for human consumption at all, whether they made coffee out of it, whether it was used in the kitchen, I replaced it. I didn't want any lead in anything that we're using. Although I have not had it retested, I did submit all the paperwork for retesting today, so, I'm sorry, I filled it out today. I don't know when I'll get it in. I'm trying to get it done, so, high school suppression underground leak. A lot of you know that we've had a leak in there's a underground fire suppression line that wraps around the high school and feeds the high school and back. It has been leaking since before my arrival. I hired a company to find the leaks. They showed us 9 spots. We dug up those 9 spots. There was no leak. There wasn't even some pipes in those locations. But we were able to isolate it to just a small section, probably about 100 feet or so, that we're going to try to attack this summer.
They refund us the money too.
Okay,
They
good.
did refund us all the
Hanging
money
chav.
for, and they did refund us all the money for their wonderful work.
That's good.
Let's see, Danville Elementary boiler replacement and consolidation. Danville boilers have been one of the biggest hot topics since before I got here. We did put it on hold because we were just gonna replace a couple boilers with newer boilers. So Danville had 3 boilers in 3 different locations. We're gonna consolidate them. Each boiler ran a section of the building. We're gonna make sure that each boiler can cover the entire building so that we can have duplicity, so that way we don't shut down school if one boiler goes out. And we're changing it from an oil-fed system to a liquid propane system so that we can save even more money on energy. Atkinson Academy, one of the oldest roofs up there is still ballasted with rocks. We're gonna replace that. It's in desperate need. That's already been approved. Sandown Central, the electrical panels in that building are old federal panels. We had one catch fire right before my arrival. The building inspector really wanted us to get that replaced, so we're gonna replace those. So there's gonna be an engineering firm is coming in to do a review of all the CMU walls that we're having issues with. That's at 5 different buildings. High school and middle school, we're doing a feasibility study for new buildings at the main campus. That's been approved. We've kind of pulled back on that right now just to see what comes out of the strategic planning committee to see what we want to move forward with. Other things that actually we just got approved to move forward with is Danville Elementary upgrade, the HVAC controls. We're replacing all the boilers. So when we do that, we want to be able to have better controls in all the rooms, be able to actually delve into the systems even more. One thing that EEI does for us after they get us in here is what's called analyzing all our stuff. They come in and they look at all our systems, see what was running when, and make sure that we're using everything to the most economical way we can. It's part of their process is getting our energy costs down. So they'll look at, say, an exhaust fan. Why is this thing running 100% of the time during the night? Why was it not shutting off? And they'll go back in and sit down with us and try to figure out even more savings that way. We're also going to do that to the middle school. So the middle school, we've replaced the boilers already down there. And right now it has pneumatic air controls, which were big in the 60s, and they should have stayed there. They get leaks, they don't work, it's just not economical, and you really don't have much control over them, so they're gonna upgrade those as well. Things that have been, the next part of the list is things that have been approved in the 2024 voted budget. Within the operational budget, we have parking lot maintenance, crack sealing. We're actually gonna seal coat the SAU parking lot. And then it's gonna be cycled each year, so we're gonna do a different part, so every 5 to 7 years, maybe 7 to 10 years, we'll have the entire district seal coated every year, so we won't have to do as much replacement, and maintain our parking lots. We've had increased agronomics to the athletic fields. Mr. Sapir was kind enough to tell me that he used to play at a mud bowl at one of my former districts, and he realized where'd the mud go, and that was me. We're gonna do it here too. We're gonna get these fields up to where they need to be. I don't have, I haven't put any money into rebuilding or remodeling any of the fields, but that's definitely something on our list of looking at, whether it be infields that need to be redone because of, A, they're not draining properly, or the big hill that's in the middle of the football field might be something that we look at someday, but just not yet. We're getting there. All buildings, we've started a painting cycle. We're gonna start painting at least a quarter or a fifth of each building each summer, so that every 5 years, it's getting a fresh coat of paint on the inside. Throughout the high school and the middle school, there's cracked asbestos tiles everywhere. Well, it's not, let me rephrase that. The tiles aren't asbestos, but the mastic underneath them is. So to fix them, I have to do an asbestos abatement, so we got the money to do that. Danville Elementary, Atkinson Academy, they've asked for gates to be put on the backs of the building so people can't drive around back during recess, which has happened a couple times this year. We also are gonna install some fencing at Danville Elementary, and I put Atkinson, it's not Atkinson, it's Sandown North. We just wanna try to put, Sandown North has a 6-foot fence, and the balls are ending up in this big gully, so we're gonna try to put a mesh net up there for them. Included in warrant Article 16, we have the high school boiler plant replacement this summer. It's very important. We're down to 4 boilers actively running right now. I had another one lose controller, which would be $5,000, and I said, let's wait to see what happens with this. So luckily that came in, and we don't have to do that. Warrant Article 3, which is the lease purchase agreement. We got HVAC replacements, we got roof replacements, LED lighting upgrades at all the schools, all the elementary schools, and HVAC controls at Atkinson, High School, Pack, Sandown North, Pollard, and also repairing the steeple on Atkinson Academy. Just the little things.
Any questions for Carl? Mark, go ahead.
The steeple at Atkinson Academy, actually, for those of you that are new or don't know, that is something that is in the Articles of Agreement.
Oh, the
On
steeple.
that piece of property, and it cannot be changed, modified, or replaced in any sense, so we have to maintain that
So-
steeple.
Question, is that structural?
Wait, Mark.
Okay.
Yeah, Mark, go ahead.
Thank you very much. Afterwards, we'll find out what you're doing with all your free time. We had,
Pulling out my hair.
cross that off the list. We had talked earlier, just informally, this information is going to be on our site under facilities so that the community who is footing this bill and some people who may have been skeptical or questioning where the money was going into, who aren't watching this meeting, could we put this out there somewhere so that it's easily accessible and directable to people, that this is where our current money is going, these are the projects that are going, this is perfect, this is perfect. Can we put that up there?
Yeah.
If it's not already there?
Yeah,
Awesome.
we can put it in the website.
Awesome. So I'll redirect all the face mail inquiries to that. Awesome.
And again, and we're gonna be doing this
Yeah.
regularly with
Yep.
updates as to what's happening in some sort of structure, but that's trying to figure out the best method to do that. So you're right, so that we have something, whether, Ken, I don't know if we want to create a section that relates just to this, so that we can constantly be,
That'd be a good idea.
so people want to know and see, they can just find it like that and
Living
update it
document.
as needed.
The sad part of the majority of these projects are not visible. The only thing I think is visible is the steeple at Atkinson.
Well, that's-
But I think if you do a web page for this, and we can start putting photographs of
be
before,
great.
after, and stuff like that, I think that would be
And I think
good
that's gonna be
idea.
huge, because like you said, it's not visible, and I think that's what, people think we got $25 million, suddenly everything's gonna look nice and shiny and new, or and that's just not gonna happen. So that's why I just think it's very important to keep everyone informed, and like you said, I'm gonna take some pictures of some of these things that we're, what we're swapping out or doing, and I think it's gonna make a big thing. So Bree was next.
Bree, go ahead.
I just had a question about the track renovation partially grant funded. Is there any way to kind of combine with the athletic fields in that kind of grant?
No.
No, it's very specific, I take it.
Yep.
Extremely.
We have to, yeah, we have to.
That's,
I had to get a separate survey of just the area that we're gonna be working on. And
Is it just the
we
main
actually-
track, or is it also the field events?
It's gonna be the track and the field events.
Yeah.
All the jump pits, we're gonna have a double runway for a long jump, triple jump. We're gonna have a brand new
It was actually
high jump and.
a fair grant for parks and recreation.
So we have to
one
say
of
that
our
we're gonna
parks-
delineate, this area is gonna be free and open to the public to use outside of our use.
That's
So-
one of
so
Plasto parks.
Next time they come
that we
out
use
with
for
this, we're gonna do the
recreation.
tennis courts.
Pickleball by then.
Go ahead, Paul.
I just had a question. I missed what do we, and I have a comment after. What do we own that you were saying we can't change?
So, as part of this grant, we have to tell everybody that we can't change the, what she
He's
said.
talking about-
She's talking about Atkinson Academy. Part of
Okay.
the Articles of Agreement, when they signed on to this, to the Timberlane Regional School District, was that we had to maintain the front portion of Atkinson Academy, is exactly what it says. So it's pretty much that old
Historical.
1803 portion of the building we have to maintain as a historical site. We can't go just rip it down and build an
Or
addition.
change it.
Okay.
We can, it has been
And we can't
upgraded,
find
there's
any
sprinklers in it and
records of
stuff
when
like
was
that.
the
so-
last time that.
Okay.
Yeah,
I just
and,
missed,
and
I
and
missed
it
the
really
property,
looks
and
like
that's
nothing's
interesting.
been done to it since they put the sprinklers in it probably 30 years ago, so.
And the only comment I had, and I talked to Mark at length before I decided to throw my name in the ring for this. Was I said, let me go.
Sounds accusatory.
I was just gonna say,
Let me go to the deliberative.
are you still
and-
talking to him now? That's the question.
and just get a feel for the mood of the district. And I would say that both of you, speaking to your area of expertise, were just very impressive to me. And it just made me feel like, wow, there's some experts here. We're in good hands. I like the mood of the people in the room. That was a big thing. And I talked to you after, and I said, yeah, I'm going to do it but you two were a very big part of that for me. So
Thank you.
thank you for that.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
The list that we had from EEI, all the project lists, can we get that to all the new members? Because I think it's really important for them to see what was on that list and what this portion does. And we recognize there's so much more that needs to be done, but that was the other 100 million that was sitting on the other side. So was it, what were we, 160? Was that the?
160 million.
Yeah, so there's another 125 million in projects that there was no way to go out for that. I mean, so we tried to come, and we went back and forth. I think originally it was 15, and we
Oh,
said,
yeah,
no,
no,
let's take
this has been
let's take the
back and
jump to get to
forth.
25, and it passed. And again, like I said, I know it's a sticker shock, but it's something that we needed that first bite at the apple, which is that 25, but.
Yeah, and it was the CIP, the Facilities Committee, and the school board. It
Yeah.
was a,
Unanimous.
it was a really
But
combined effort.
But I think if everyone saw all the projects listed out that we know need to be done and what this 25 is designated for, it will help to.
Perfect.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, is that
Just-
posted somewhere that we can direct people to?
Well, it
Will
can,
be, that's what.
You just said the new board members, I wanted to
Yeah.
make sure it was going out to the public too. Or at least some form of information.
We can, I would recommend to the list.
Perfect.
yeah.
Yes.
Something,
Yeah,
something.
Yeah, the 25 million, absolutely, yeah. And then when we kind of phase it out,
Yeah, like even just phase one for now, what we know,
check it.
what we know.
right,
Yeah,
yeah.
No, that
Yeah,
would-
no, we can
that's too
definitely
much
put-
bandwidth.
Are you
And
sure?
actually, it
You
is
said
there.
you weren't gonna talk no more.
Let's get
You
that out to
lied.
all the new members and then just kind of maybe revisit that in a couple meetings, just to go over it so everyone can understand because I don't want, we got the lease and we have this, but Not that we're coming out and doing anything or making a request anytime soon, but we can't lose sight of the fact that there's still other things that need to be done.
Right.
Because if we do, we're going to be in the exact same position again.
Can down the
So
road.
we have to continue to stay cognizant of that and creative of it and to figure out when is the right time to look at something. And again, it will all depend on how this lease is managed, what happens, and what we see happening down the road, interest rates, things of that nature. So, but I think just having that and keeping that in the distant conversation is a smart thing.
We did get the extra money for CIP this year too, so and what Jack was saying about getting CIP and facilities kind of working together, those two committees, we can actually start picking
Yep.
maybe some stuff off of this, maybe some stuff
Yep.
from the CIP or something like that.
Yeah.
Not to give Jack any credit, but.
That won't happen very
Speaking of
often.
Jack, I'm going to give him the
That's
last
true.
comment on this so we can
Yeah.
move on to
So,
curriculum.
I've gotten to see Kyle's work on other campuses as well as on this campus, and I'm very impressed. Which kind of segues into what Kristen was talking about. I know you guys were talking about a facilities audit, and I don't know if you started it, where you are on that, but, doing some research in facility audits, that's kind of how we don't get stuck in this position again, because a real detailed audit mandates what we do over the course of the next 25 years, so we don't look at this.
That's what
Did
we
you
did.
do that?
The report of the
That's the
$160
list.
million.
That's
is
the
that.
list,
Yeah.
okay. All
They
right.
went through every single
Every
one of our
single-
buildings,
All right.
everything, windows, roofs, HVAC,
And then we
floors.
recycle this in a more timely, more proficient fashion.
That's where
in
we're
the best interest of the
starting
taxpayers.
baby
Okay.
steps, as you see here, like the pavement. We just got a lot of pavement done with one of the grants that we got.
Yep.
And we're starting to, in a cycle, the painting, the,
Last question, the track, is that just gonna be resurfaced, or what's the scope
It
of work on
depends,
the track?
the scope is, the original scope was to shave down an inch or so off the top, and then repave it, but I don't have a history on that, so we added in, an addendum that asked them to do a couple core samples to see what the subsurface is, see how it's doing, and if they have to move forward with that, we'll have to come up with another just about $105,000 to reclaim it all and redo everything from bottom to top, so it's everything. We're gonna make sure it's done right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Carl and Maria.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Do you have anything else, or do?
I think I've said enough.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This next thing will be a curriculum update, so Sandy. You have we all have a packet in our packets about what they're going to be talking about. I would ask board members to please wait until the end of their presentation before we ask questions. Good evening.
Hi, good evening. It's nice to see some familiar faces and some new faces. I'm Sandy Allaire, for those of you who are new. I'm the Executive Director of Curriculum and Professional Learning for the district. Mark Pedersen is joining me. He can introduce himself, but
Director of Secondary Education.
and we're somewhat killing time because Dean is about to load a presentation so that we can all be following along. But just as a segue into this, so we were asked to bring an update on the status of learning in our district, sort of a very high-level overview of where we've been, where we are right now, and more importantly, where we're going. And so we're bringing some data that we've shared here as well. We've looked at that data much more deeply at the Curriculum and Assessment Committee. And so as we're looking at that, if at any point you're looking for more detailed data, we're happy to bring that back as well. But knowing that we wanted to approach this sort of at a 30,000-foot view, we're bringing you some limited data at this point just to get us into the conversation about what we're doing to take action to address learning and improve student learning outcomes. So now that the presentation is ready, so where we've been, we're going to take a look at essentially six years of state assessment results in mathematics and reading through our state assessment system. The first 2 years of data, 2016 and 17, just a note that that was actually the Smarter Balanced Assessment. It was still our state assessment, but it was a different platform, a different company that ran that assessment. We switched to the SAS, SAS, which we actually just administered today in science to our 11th graders. That has been in place since 2018. So you're going to see those data sets together, and we'll also be looking at that data for science. So this data reflects grades 3 through 8. For both math and English language arts or reading. For science, the state only assesses 3 grade levels, so that's grades 5, 8, and 11. So it's kind of a busy chart because we tried to fit a lot in here. But essentially what you're looking at, this is mathematics. This are grade level results that reflect the percent of students that are deemed to be proficient in grade level standards on the state assessment going back to 2016. And so the bars, the colored bars, reflect a different year, and the sets of bars together are the different grade levels. So on the left is grade 3 going all the way over to grade 11. That sort of dark purple on the right, that is last spring's data. That's our most recent data set. The blue would be back in 2016. That was the Smarter Balanced Assessment. So you can see kind of an overview. We've had some dips overall, if I were to summarize. Last spring, we did start to see some recovery in some of our grade levels, not all, but it's a work in progress, and we're actively working on bringing those scores up to where they were, if not higher, back in 2016. So that's mathematics. This is the same data set, but for English language arts. So that is reading and writing for students across grades 3 through 8. And I should have added that grade 11 is the SAT. So the SAT school day, the state adopted that as the state assessment for school and federal accountability. And that's been in place since 2016. So that information for grade 11 has consistently been the SAT school day. So, and we did look at this with the board a couple weeks back more deeply for SAT data. This next slide is our state science scores. And again, this is students, percent of students in each grade level that are proficient. And I should have added that those tests are scored on a 4-point system. And so scores of 3 or 4 are considered proficient in the state assessment system. Where we are now, so we're going to look at some of the same data that we just saw, but compared against the state averages. So we're going to be looking at math and ELA for grades 3 through 8, SAT for grade 11, and the science assessment. And we're also going to take a high-level look at our most recent iReady data, and I'll speak more about that when we get to that slide. So this next slide is, again, mathematics. The red is Timberlane. The gray is the state average. Again, this is grades 3 through 11 going from left to right. So this is 22 data from last spring. This is Timberlane compared against all schools at that grade level across the state average. So in some grades, we've exceeded the state average, and others we fell short in mathematics. Jumping ahead, this is the same data set, but for English language arts. So again, you'll see that we have outperformed the state average, and for English language arts, it's really the majority of our grade levels, with one exception. This is us for the 3 grades where we assess in science compared against the state average for last spring. And then I'm going to shift a little bit to talk about iReady. And so this is one slide that we brought here. At our last Curriculum and Assessment Committee, we did a deep dive into our winter iReady data. We looked at this data from the winter diagnostic across all grade levels. We looked at several different data sets to compare cohorts of students, to compare last year's data to this year's data. And that's something that we have in process that we're doing with our administrative teams, that we're doing with our teachers as well. But for this purpose, we're bringing you this one slide. Again, we're happy to come back with more detail if that's the will of the board. What you're looking at here on top, you have our mathematics information. On the bottom is reading. And the way you read this, so iReady is a different type of assessment. It is more of a diagnostic. It is not a summative assessment used for accountability, but it is aligned to the same curriculum and state standards that we have in our curriculum documents that the state assessment assesses our students on. And so it's relevant as a comparison to see how our students are doing over time. So we administer this assessment 3 times a year, in the fall, in the winter. It's usually right at the end of January, and again in the spring, usually around May. And so this is an assessment that covers grade kindergarten up through grade 8. The assessment is not designed to be used at the high school level, so it's not a choice that we made. They just don't make the product to align to the high school assessment. So the top image that you're seeing, this is actually both of our data sets from the 2 benchmarks that we've administered thus far. So you'll see the fall diagnostic for mathematics is on the bottom, that bar going left to right. Winter is just above it. And there are 2 shades of green, and if you can make out the code, that sort of green with the hashed lines in it indicates students who are at the midpoint or considered above grade level. Green is that they are early on their grade level that they're currently in. Yellow, they're 1 grade level below, so they're approaching their current grade level. Red is 2 grade levels below, and the hashed red is 3 or more. So it's important when we look at this data to think about at the beginning of the year, students aren't expected to have mastered that current, the standards for that current grade level. They haven't learned the content yet. They may not have been exposed to the skills that they need to acquire. So when we see students in the fall in the yellow, it's not as alarming as you might think it may be, that they're 1 grade level below. The goal is that by the end of the year, all of the students will be in the green. Obviously, if we have students who are 2 or more grade levels below, it takes more time to make some catch-up growth in those students. But as we're looking at this data and we're measuring fall to winter, ideally we're looking for all the students who are in the yellow to be in green by the end of the year, and we want to see some of the students in red moving into the yellow, if not farther, right? But we're working on trying to accelerate learning for those learning gaps. So the mathematics data is on top, ELA is on the bottom, and this is all students across all grade levels and all schools. So this is really high-level data that we're looking at, but we do have this for all of our grade levels in schools. So. Okay, what we're working on. So we're working on quite a bit. One of the large pieces that is encompassing a lot of the things that we have going in place is a shift back to more data-informed planning and decision-making. This is something that we had implemented in this district. We didn't really move away from it entirely, but with the shift to more remote learning platforms, that collaboration time, collaborative meeting time to really dig into data, and we lost opportunities to dig into some of the data. We didn't administer state assessments in 2020. We implemented iReady last fall, in the fall of 21, and so we had a year without any benchmarking data. So it's not that we hadn't been doing some of the things, it's just that we didn't have the same level of data available to start digging into. So we've shifted back to those practices. We're doing that at the district level. Our district admin have gone through some data protocols on the iReady data, on our state assessment data. They've then brought that back to their buildings and worked with their teachers. Our teachers are working with their colleagues in professional learning communities to dig into their student data, their classroom data, and make decisions about whether or not students need some intervention, whether or not they need enrichment, where they're at, and make decisions for next steps for student learning. So again, those data protocols are in place. We'll continue to work on implementing those. Training in the iReady instructional platform has been ongoing for the past 2 years. So what we just looked at was data from the benchmark assessment. iReady also has a separate side of their program that's designed for instruction. So all students in K-8 have logins to this platform. After students are assessed, they're placed on a pathway in both math and English language arts. And that's a pathway designed to sort of direct them to help make some accelerated catch-up growth. So if on their assessment they're identified as needing some additional practice in a targeted skill, so something around algebraic, equations. iReady will provide them with lessons, and they're targeted lessons through the platform. Most of them are video-based, but more importantly, practice, and the teachers are able to monitor that and intervene, step in if students appear to be stuck. They can touch base with them. And so this is something to supplement instruction. It is not designed to take the place of face-to-face interactions in the classroom with their teachers, but it's a tool that we've been able to leverage to help provide additional practice for our students in both math and reading. And so our teachers are regularly receiving training in that platform, so they have a full and deep understanding of the tools available to them to help support our students. We also, beginning this year, restructured our elementary schedule to provide opportunities for elementary teachers to have 90 minutes of what we call PLC time, and so that's professional learning community time, where all teachers once a week at the elementary level meet with their colleagues who teach that same grade level. They meet in teams. They meet with their elementary curriculum coordinator, who is their assistant principal. They look at student data. They have conversations about how students are doing. They're able to analyze that data, place students into groups, and they've shifted more towards a collaborative model of intervention and enrichment, where students are able to work with multiple teachers. They might be working with an interventionist. And so really these are all of our students, and this is a collaborative effort to work together to make sure that all students are getting what they need. So that 90-minute block is a big component of our ability to move forward in applying our intervention system at the elementary level. And so the next slide, you'll see a little bit more about that. So again, those intervention cycles are often determined through the PLC time. Teachers are also working on curriculum, designing common assessments, things of that nature. But our elementary intervention system, again, really is founded in that idea of data analysis, with short cycles. So if students are identified as needing an intervention and targeted skills, they might work with an intervention or one of our grade level teachers for a few weeks. And through that time, they're monitoring how students are doing. At the end of that cycle, they may make a decision that that student is ready to go back to a different grouping. They might be ready for a different targeted skill to isolate. And so it's designed to be a fluid and ongoing system. Our regular education paraeducators, we have some at each school now, who are assisting under the guidance of classroom teachers and our interventionists. They are helping to deliver some of that skill-based practice through intervention cycles. Moving up to the middle school, I think you've heard, many of you have heard us talk about the redesign of the middle school schedule. The What I Need or Win block was something that was started in pockets last year. We've now expanded that for all students this year. So that's a block of time every other day. For some students, they may have WIN every day. And again, students may be working with interventionists. They may be working with one of their teachers. They may be working with an enrichment teacher. But that time is designed to provide them essentially what they need in conjunction with their learning progress. We were able last year to repurpose a position and increase by one math interventionist at the middle school, and that position has been pivotal in our ability to implement WIN at the middle school. So that was last year, actually. At the middle school, also after school, and this is funded through ESSER. So we were here a couple months back talking about how we're using our ESSER funds. We're using the ESSER 3 funding to provide after-school drop-in sessions to support students on a as-need basis. So if they need help with their homework, if they're stuck on a certain problem in one of their classes, they're able to drop in. Those are staffed by our teachers, and so it's likely that one of their team teachers may be there to help them. At the high school, we have the Academic Support Center that runs during the day. Our math interventionist staffs that, and we have members of the Math Honor Society who are there during their free periods. That's something that's been in place for many, many years at the high school. So it's not new, but it is something that we are actively using. We're also providing after-school tutoring and extra help through ESSER funding at the high school. It's a very similar model to the middle school. And for students who need credit recovery, and we can come back and talk more deeply about credit recovery and what that is. But if a student at the high school fails a course in quarter 2, for example, they're able during quarter 3 to engage in credit recovery. It's very well structured, it's organized, it's tied to our curriculum, to in live time catch up and recover the credit that they lost for quarter 2. Typically, students would have to do that during the day, during a study hall. We're looking to provide, through the ESSER funding, opportunities for them to do that after school as well. So we've expanded that through ESSER funding to help bring students back up to speed and help them catch up so they don't fall progressively farther behind. Targeted professional development. So we have a professional development day this coming Tuesday. We have 5 of those a year. Those are standalone days in the school calendar, right? Students don't come to school. We also work actively on job-embedded professional development that is not a standalone day, one-off workshop. This is ongoing training that's sustained, where ideally teachers are learning together with their colleagues, and they're building on that training and able to apply it in the classroom in live time. So some of that training that we're looking at the elementary level, we've had a huge shift in the way that our elementary teachers are approaching the teaching and instruction of reading. And it's very much grounded in fairly new research on the science of reading and how students learn to read. And so we're actively involved. Many of our teachers, about 40, and our administrators are involved in a pretty comprehensive course. It's called LETRS, L-E-T-R-S. The misspelling is intentional, it's an acronym. But that is a program that actually is being sponsored by the Department of Education as well. It is an online course with in-person touch points where they are working together to really delve into the components of early childhood reading acquisition around phonics, phonemic awareness, decoding of text, and the science behind reading acquisition and how students learn to read. So that is going on. Alongside that, every week, our elementary teachers are working with their instructional coaches in their building. They're working on a text, a book study, that is focused on the 6 instructional shifts required to move toward a more scientific approach to the instruction of reading. And so that's very much tied to the LETRS training. That's another support that we have in place. Our teachers are working on a book study in mathematics on a text called Math in Practice to reinforce their instructional practice in mathematics. For the past several years and summers, we have been a host site for the ongoing assessment project. That is a training that really focuses on using regular assessment methods to get a quick sense of where students are at, to understand what they might need next, and make decisions in live time in the math classroom to help really help them progress in their learning. We've been working for the past 2.5 years with a consultant named Mike Anderson, who you may hear more about. He's been working with our teachers. He and his colleague have come to all of our elementary schools 6 different times this past year. They're actually going to be here next Monday and Wednesday working in our elementary schools. And they're meeting with all teachers at every grade level to have conversations about how to facilitate the development of social and emotional skills through academic learning. So this is not this is not mental health. This is not anything associated with that. It's helping students to develop skills such as resiliency, such as a strong work ethic, being reflective about decisions and choices that they make through their academic work. So as they're learning math, they might be reflecting on, I had an option to do these three problems. This one was the least challenging, and I chose that. Was that a good choice? Might I have challenged myself, which then becomes a social skill for them to become better learners as they grow. So Mike has been working with them. It's really targeted learning that they're working on. Our administrators and special education teachers have been involved in a myriad of trainings connected to the special education audit. Moving forward, where we're going. So in addition to all of that, we're actively working on finalizing the learning section of the strategic plan, right, with learning and improved student learning outcomes as the focus of everything that we do, including our work in facilities that you just heard about, right? It's about providing learning spaces that will facilitate learning for all students across the district. We sent a team of 11 from our district 2 weeks ago to a state conference put on by the Department of Education around Universal Design for Learning, or UDL. That program is all about facilitating learning for teachers to think about how to remove barriers to learning for all students, regardless of their learning ability, regardless of their profile as a learner, but to really think about in their lesson design, in our curriculum, what are the barriers that might be present, and remove those proactively before students encounter challenges. And so that is a network that is statewide. It's something that's being very much supported by the Department of Education, and we are looking to become involved with that moving forward. Danville School and Pollard School were selected to be two schools amongst a small group across the state through grant-funded work to participate in what's called the Teach United program. That's a 2-year program, and those schools, they're actually, I think, having their first meeting next Tuesday. That is a program designed to help create a train-the-trainer model. So teachers would be participating in the Teach United to receive one-on-one instructional coaching around best practices in their classes. Those teachers, it's usually like teams of 5 or 6, after year 1 will bring back what they've learned in an instructional coaching model and work with their colleagues in their buildings to help organically really think about instruction and improving our practices, but colleagues supporting one another. So those 2 schools were selected for that program, and you'll likely be hearing more about that. I spoke about Mike Anderson. We are continuing that work next year. We just had a team go to learn more about student action research that's being run through the Center for School Climate and Learning. I know Mr. Krieger is intending to talk to you a little bit more about that model. But this program is really designed, our middle and high schools are looking to become involved, to improve, enhance, and heighten student voice. So students have a chance to really delve into what is going on in their schools, think about action research, get involved, and really be change agents in their schools themselves. So we're excited about that. We are continually reviewing our curriculum with our teachers. I just met with our world language teachers with Mr. Patterson on Monday, and we had conversations about planning for the summer to provide time for them to work together as a group to think about curriculum revisions. We have already reformed our math and science K-12 curriculum committees. We talked about that at our curriculum and assessment committee meeting earlier this month. That's ongoing work, and we'll be expanding that to other content areas. We have quite a lot going on in the field of special education around the development of specialized programming. And I imagine you'll hear more about that through the special education audit. I talked about the ongoing assessment project training. We are once again a host site for those trainings. So that is for our educators, but also educators around the state will be coming to Timberlane to participate in those trainings. And several months ago, maybe it wasn't that long ago, Dr. Campbell came and talked to you all and brought students with him to talk about their extended learning opportunity projects, which was fantastic. And we're really excited about that work and are eager to expand that and see where this goes. So this is a selection. I know this was 10 minutes and I've been rambling quite a bit. There's more. We're happy to talk about anything and everything. We're really excited about the work going on in our schools. So I'm happy to answer, and Mark as well, any questions that you might have for us.
Well, let other people go.
Well, thank you for the information, and this was really for us to know, really, like, we've seen so much data and everything like that, and we really wanted to know, like, what have we been doing and what are we doing moving forward. But thank you for this. But did you have a question, Jonna?
Wow, and thank you. And I mean that wholeheartedly. I mean, I think most of us have had kids in the district or come through the district, and, you know, I hear my 2 kids that are involved in elementary and secondary ed coming home and being involved in a lot of these processes, and it's really impressive to hear the top to bottom approach from K through 12 and to see where we stand comparatively. So thank you for the work that you do. Thank you for this information. It's far more involved and in depth than I think any of us maybe comprehend or understand, but thank you for all that you do for the students and for the teachers that are involved in all of these extra additional responsibilities to make sure that our kids get what they need.
Thank you. And our teachers, we're very fortunate to have teachers who are, go over, above, and beyond to participate in all of these things to really make sure that they're providing what their students need. So,
Jack.
Always impressive. Always impressive. 2 quick questions. What can we do to help? And the other one is, what is the participation rate, say, like with the after-school program? Because you got an awful lot of things going on there.
yeah, we do. So we are collecting data on attendance at the after-school programming, so we can get that and bring that back. I don't have that off the top of my head. I know that the middle school homework clubs, we just expanded that. We were able to get some additional funding. So they just sent information out, I think, last weekend to families to re-advertise it. Yeah, I got it as a middle school parent as well. So I'm thinking it just came out last week from Mr. Mensis' weekly update. What can you do to help? I think, hearing about the work. I specifically requested the presentation because I think it's important that our community hear about the work and the level of activity, the time commitment, the dedication of our teachers and our educators, our para-educators, to trying to support students and really come out of the pandemic, but more importantly, grow. And so I think just being able to come regularly and update you all is wonderful support, and it helps us to work in partnership. So
The heat chart that you had
Yeah.
on the ranking, could you break that down, English, math, and is that available to us?
I can do that for you.
Is that available?
I was just going to say,
I was impressed with the heat chart. I like the heat chart.
if you would like data, Mark is your guy. So.
Cool.
I'll
Thank
get you whatever you need, but I can just wonder if I can make, the other thing I think is,
all of a sudden.
don't just boil
Someone
it down to a
appreciates
single
you.
number. These kids are more than just a single
Absolutely.
number.
Yeah.
These
Right.
kids, we've got kids doing great things across the board. So,
Yep.
as a school board member, just recognize that. Just recognize that the work that these kids are doing is more than just boiled down to a single proficiency percent. So that would be what I would ask.
I got 2 kids that went through the district, so I'm very happy. Yeah.
Kim? Intervention is a big part of all of this. And I know that at the middle school, they were repurposed positions, I think, for interventions.
There was one that we were able to repurpose, yes.
Does every elementary school have their own intervention?
They do not. That's a great question. They do not. So we, as a district, are able to leverage some Title I funding. So Title I schools are identified through their percentage of students who are identified as needing free and reduced lunch. So as being socially, through a socioeconomic lens, at a certain threshold where they would qualify for that. During the pandemic, the benefit was that the federal government decided to not to provide free lunch to all students, regardless of need. The unintended consequence of that was that our applications for free and reduced lunch declined during the pandemic. And so this is the first year coming out of COVID that families had to reapply and that free lunch was no longer available. Our data that determines our level of support through Title I funding is from the previous year. So Pollard School used to be our school that was identified with the highest level of need. At one time years ago, we had 5 Title I tutors who were interventionists essentially in that school. We lost funding through Title I. That school no longer qualifies due to low applications. Danville and Sandown North are the only 2 schools right now that have Title I tutors. We did plan for and have approval in the ESSER grant for 5 interventionist positions at the elementary level. We have only been able to staff 1 of those, and we have a teacher working at Pollard. That being said, Atkinson does have an interventionist position. They used to be the only school that did not receive any sort of support, and that 1 position was far less than the other schools. Due to lack of funding and the shifts, we've lost the ability to have some of those positions. We've seen some preliminary data on that, and it is looking like we might qualify for additional tutors. But with the open and vacant positions and the passing of the budget, you may see us returning and requesting to repurpose some of those open and vacant positions that we talked about a couple months ago for the purpose of intervention. So we're actively talking about all that.
Great, thank you. Bree?
I just have two quick questions. One is the win in the middle school. I was just wondering, because it said they have the opportunity or something like that. So is it a structured
It is
block,
structured.
and you know where they are and what they're doing and who are
You want to speak to that?
Yeah, so all kids are scheduled for a win. What the teachers are looking for, and we're working on this to tweak it a little bit for next year, is to have that opportunity. So student might be scheduled for, say, Sandy's win, but I need that student to maybe make up a test or to do something. And so right now it's taking a little bit more work to get that student into the win that they need to be in. Next year we're working to make that even easier. But all kids are scheduled for a win. They're all scheduled for hopefully a win that it's something that they need. So there's groups of kids that are scheduled with a math interventionist based upon the math skills that they in particular need. Other kids are scheduled with maybe just their core social studies teacher, and they're doing great things in there, and they might get pulled in different ways. But yes, all kids are scheduled for a win, and they are all doing something. Kids are just doing lots of different things in win.
and do you use the iReady to format which win they're going into?
It depends. Again, we're using iReady data to help us figure out, especially those kids that are significantly behind grade level in math or reading. And so those kids are getting sort of pulled first, if you will, for win, and saying these kids, these group of kids are going into this win because the iReady data is saying they are significantly behind in math. And then other kids might be scheduled to win a little bit more randomly. Based upon other factors, but we tried to target, the greatest need first, based upon the data that we're seeing.
And then my last question, reformation of the K-12 curriculum and committees. I think that's great, and it needs to be done, especially, looking at the data. I feel like your reading and ELA is so much above the math and science, which, again, these are just numbers that I'm looking at, so I get it.
Yep.
But is there any collaboration there to see what they're doing right?
Go ahead, yeah.
Well, I think if there's been a push for the past number of years about reading across the curriculum, reading in all areas. There's not necessarily a push to do math in all areas, but so the reading, you could say that maybe that's part of it. I don't know if there's been necessarily a look at, what specifically are they doing in the classroom that's right, that's getting those up, other than, I know that there has been a literacy push, and that's been successful in a lot of areas. When I think about the SATs at the high school level, the past couple of years, we really focused on helping kids on that reading and the writing portion of the SATs. And we've been using science and social studies and English to really help that. And math is a little bit more on an island, if you will, in getting kids ready for the math part of the SATs. But that doesn't mean that we can't try to work with science and social studies and English even to help kids with that aspect of it. But past number of years, there has been a literacy focus.
Yeah. Yeah, and so we have committees that we've started to form. We started with math and science for a reason, right? I think you're looking at the data. We're also looking beyond those committees to expand. So at the elementary level, for example, where our teachers have to be masters of so many different content areas, right? And they may work in a school where they have one or two other colleagues who teach that grade level. We're looking to increase opportunities for teachers to come together with colleagues at the grade level they teach across all of our elementary schools. So in the next couple of months, we've actually reserved some dates where all grade 5 teachers, for example, will be able to come together to collaborate on science and math units and curriculum to dig into their data, their instructional practice, look at their curriculum units, and make recommendations for changes, tweaks, things of that nature, so.
Is that part of that 90-minute block?
That is not. These are actually, we're looking to schedule standalone days, which are tough to do, right? Because we have to cover our buildings, and we try to minimize the time that teachers are not with their students. So we're trying to be really purposeful in how we plan that to minimize those interruptions. But we did that several years ago for our elementary teachers when they first started working on their math units. And those were really successful in helping us and helping the teachers to develop a common understanding of their units and give some good feedback and have those conversations. So we're looking actually next year in our calendar. We have an increase of early release days. We're hoping to leverage some of that time as well for those types of activities for our teachers.
Okay, thank you. Again, great work.
Yeah, Sandy, great presentation. You know, your command of it is amazing, and it's kind of reassuring to see that you're on top of each school's degree of support and can express it so clearly. I did get a chance to see the WIN program in action. I was there for a number of days for a teacher that was out, and I'd say about a third of the kids would let me know. They'd come to WIN at like an assigned place. Some came with work to do just to stay current with what they're doing right there. Others were already scheduled to go see a particular teacher, and they knew what room to go to. It was really quick. They got there, so it was in operation. It was very obvious to see that the kids were excited about, in a sense, they knew what they had to do, and they knew and appreciated their teacher. There was they're people they knew, and it was a good thing for me to see. I'd say, well, look, my kid's coming here next year. I know, he's going to be good.
Yep.
So it's nice to see. So, do you have anything that you think is in the way of growth in the areas where you have looked at it and want to see the most growth?
I don't know if it's in the way of growth. Time, just a general response, time for teachers to collaborate, time for teachers to reflect on all of the new learning that they're doing, time for them to really think deeply about their students and where they're at, time to talk to their colleagues, because they learn so much from one another and from those conversations. Time is always the challenge, and not taking them away from their students, right? So we have limited time in the day, and that tends to be, from the teachers when we talk to them, it's, I wish we had more time to do this, right? And so try to be creative and figure out how to provide that time, whether it's in the summer for, opportunities. I don't know if Mark has a different response, but you agree? Yeah.
So if we made this school day like an hour longer, you think it would be?
I did not say
Your
that.
first meeting,
Just say.
So, all right, to wrap this up and move forward, talking about the future and going forward. One of the big subjects that we had just a few weeks ago was talking about block scheduling and how that's affecting the kids and whether or not. So is that something you're continuing to look at in conjunction with all of this to figure out if we're doing the right thing or if we should be going to
Yeah,
unblock or hybrid or something?
So Principal Vaccarezza and I and the whole, high school admin team, we're constantly saying, what can we do that's going to improve things? If it is going to a different schedule, maybe that's what it is. But we're looking into every little thing that we could do. So, coming out of that conversation from last board meeting, or the past couple of board meetings, Principal Vaccarezza is looking at different options, not saying that one is necessarily better than the other. Are we saying that we're going to go away from block? Are we saying that we're going to stick with block? We don't know because we're just looking.
You continue to explore, and that's, I just want to make sure that that's
Yeah.
in conjunction with all this and on the radar, and we're looking at that, because we saw a lot of the test scores and where we ranked with other districts, and when you looked at that, you had broken it down, the charts, man. You had broken it down with regard to, who was block, who wasn't, and a majority of the schools that were ranked higher than us were block. But then there was the question is, are they block like us, or are they block with, so has that data been broken down even more to know if we're in the same type
I have
of
all
block?
that data.
Of course you do, Mark.
It's Well, we haven't sat down and looked at that level of detail yet
Okay.
with the team.
Yeah. But it's something that's on,
It's something that's on our radar screen.
because I'd be just curious to see that, like, are they like the same type of block as us, or if they're
Yeah,
they're more of a
there's a
hybrid or
lot of
whatnot?
variables that go into that, and I think I expressed this where, partnering with
absolutely.
both Pinkerton and Salem and transporting through CTE and
Totally, yeah.
with the middle school and sharing teachers between the two buildings, to just have a schedule that fits with everything is very challenging.
Yep.
And so it's not like a light switch you can just
No.
flip on.
Well, that was why I didn't support doing anything for this coming year, and at least
Yeah.
having that time to look into it. But I
Yeah,
just want
John
to make
and
sure
I,
it's continued to.
We'll walk around the building having
do.
a lot of great conversations about,
Okay.
lots of different things, and block and schedule is one of them.
So, okay, and then my other one was just, I know you're doing the SATs right now. Our test scores are based on, or our overall scores are on the SAT scores. How many kids are not participating?
I don't know if we have participation data yet. So they just took it.
They just, so.
SATs were yesterday. The state science assessment for 11th grade was today. Mark was there, proctoring both. We do have some preliminary data on completion, but not necessarily
So I'm not
participation.
asking for, I guess my question is, and down the road, can that get reported to us as to what the participation rate was? And is
Yes.
there a way,
Yeah. Yeah.
when we get those
We
scores,
have all
is
that.
there a way to, because the ones that don't participate go in as a zero, correct?
If
Of
we
that
fall
whole-
below the 95% participation threshold, the scores, the students, the number of students that fall below that 95% are counted as zeros. If I'm going to be very honest, we've tried to get clarity from the Department of Ed of how that calculation, how they do that, right? Because there are other things that come into play with that as well. It's clear as mud when we try to get that information. But we know that it does have an impact. We know it's important. We want our scores to reflect all of our students. And so that was actually a goal of Principal Vaccaris and the high school this year, was to increase participation and achievement.
Yep.
Right, so we want to make sure that the scores we're looking at reflect all of our students,
Well, that's
as
what I'm just
opposed
saying,
to
the next-
75%
Yeah,
of
well,
them.
then the next time that they're reported to us, it would be good to know if we're,
Yep.
if there's a percentage in there that is at that zero
Yep.
rate, that's just changing that, because that's clearly gonna,
We have all that. That's actually in the slides that we shared at CNA. We look at that by school. We actually break it down even by subgroup population. So we look at participation rates. The only two subgroups that we really can have data on, because other subgroups are sample size is too small to actually get data, are our identified students through special education and our socioeconomic students who are the same data set, students who qualify for free and reduced lunch. We break that down by participation for that too. We have all that. I'm happy to send that as a follow-up if you want to see those slides. They're already ready to go. I have those charts, so we can send that.
Mark's like, yes, no.
We can send that to Kelly to send out to you if you want that as an addendum to what you're looking at.
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious on the only because you hear so much talk and we look at these numbers and you see things that are like that, but I know there's more that goes into it, and sometimes I don't want to say the numbers are skewed, but there are factors that change them, and I'd just like to see kind of without that where we would kind of stand. So, but that's all I had.
Bree?
Sorry, I was just wondering, have you identified what the factors are of the non-participation?
So we had a push, a concerted, targeted push this year. And we've done it in past years, but this was I'd say whole court press, where we, at our principals and directors meeting, we had conversations about the process. What happens is, right, we send out an assessment letter. The letter from the state tells families that by law they have the right to exempt their child. But they then, families contact the schools. They talk to one of our curriculum coordinators or Mark at the secondary level. And our goal is to have a conversation and to really understand, what are your concerns about the state assessment? And so it's really more of a one-on-one conversation. We try to share information about the importance of all students participating for the impact on the data that Kristen was talking about. And from there, it's the family's decision, whether or not they choose to do that. But we keep track of all of them. I don't know if you have a common theme of why people are opting out.
From the high school perspective, what I've heard so far from those families that are choosing to exempt, there's been really two themes. One is my kid is not going to college, they don't need the SATs. And even after I explained, well, it's a federally mandated, the federal government says states must assess. The state, New Hampshire, chooses to use the SAT. It's really not about college, it's just that's the test. And they say, yeah, well, my kid's still not going to college. My kid doesn't care about the SATs. I don't want my kid to take it. Okay, that's your right. The other common theme is a number of parents feel that standardized tests, and this is at the middle school and at the high school, standardized tests are just sort of overwhelming for their kid. Their kid might have anxiety or ADHD or just general. They just don't like that to be put in that environment. And so those are really the two general themes that I've been encountering.
Well, Mark, Sandy, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Have a good evening. Next is personnel update.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
For those of you that don't know me, I'm Fringe Finton, I'm the HR director, so welcome. In your packets, you had two executive summaries. One was on the first one I think we're going to talk about is the Sandown North principal position in search. You also have a vacancy report. Most of those vacancies, basically, a lot of them have been the retirees that, a lot of them retired back, we were notified back in January. So that's where a lot of the professional vacancies are. We have not issued contracts yet, so we don't know if there are additional vacancies coming down the pike. You do have two resignations in the personnel report for an art teacher and an OT, so obviously they'll be, getting added to the list. As far as the Sandown North principal position, if you have any questions or want some more information, we're happy to provide it. Justin as well. Justin's really been spearheading that project more than me, but we're both happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Just thank you for all the
Yep,
effort you're
thank
putting
you.
into involving the community and the staff.
Okay.
Just curiosity. 17 applicants, that seems good. Like
Yeah.
in the past,
So-
is it opening up that people,
I was surprised myself. I think
Okay.
it's great that we
Yeah.
have that many. I guess the question is the quality of the applicants, right?
Yeah.
And I know that's something that Justin's
Yeah.
looking through and so forth. But yes, I'm very happy to see that we have 17 of them.
great. Thank you. Well, is there something else? That was it, huh?
Moving on.
So the Sandown Central Early Childhood Coordinator, you have, again, an executive summary of our recruitment process as well as the job description. And again, if you have any questions, we did some restructuring with TLC as far as what we thought the needs would be for the next leader in that school. Again, Justin and I am happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Shauna.
I did just have one question. I noticed that this particular position reports to the assistant superintendent, but I know there's a strong need for leadership in the special ed arena, and are we sure that the positions and duties and the qualification requirements will meet the need and level of the expertise of the special education portion of that role?
Yes, so there's going to be a distinct emphasis on really two things: an early childhood position, someone who's got that childhood development piece, but also that has some high expertise in special education, not only the delivery of it, but the administration of it. Because this position is going to be district-wide pre-K and also preschool, and they'll serve as the LEA in those roles as well across all of our buildings. So there will be one point person as opposed to what we are operating on now, is there are multiple point people for that. It's also going to serve as the chief operating officer of the building. So they are the building leader as well. They're responsible for the day-to-day operations of the school.
So you have some streamline across the, great.
That's a step
That
there.
was what I was hoping to hear. Good.
So just for the new members, just some history as to how we got here?
Sure.
No, you. Not me, no.
He's patient,
So
we'll listen.
we have this we have this position that the new title that we haven't had before, so can you explain why we're doing this?
Yes. So it's really just exactly what I just said. So we have a need that's expressed by the staff, by the community, and as an administrative team, as we talk to the district level, to hire a building leader that has two central foci. And the first is someone who has expertise in early childhood education. Those are the students that are in that building. That's what they're charged to do. They're in Sandown. They also attend that school from across the district. And to have someone with that expertise is something that we need. Secondly, there's a high need to have someone highly competent in the areas of special education, not only the law and the process, but working with those teachers and paraeducators that are working with those children. So those are the pieces that we want to hire. Calling the position what we're calling it, as opposed to calling it a principal, is going to attract a different sort of candidate to the position.
Great.
Interest level, desire, expertise. We're going to screen different candidates than we would if it was a principal position.
Great. And our principal recently resigned,
And
so that's why.
principal has recently retired.
So that's why we're going.
Or will be retired at the
Will,
end of this
yes, will
academic
be,
year.
will be, right.
So
I
you
just
all are
didn't
looking
want people to think we
for,
were adding a new position without
Not an
that,
additional
so
position.
That's what I
just their
wanted to
name
get to.
change. So you all need action for this, correct?
Actually, no, we really don't need action for it.
Okay.
It's basically just to share the information with you, but there really doesn't have to be a vote on the job description.
Okay, well, just, the only reason I ask is because, one, it's on the agenda, but then two, your last sentence of the executive summary says the job description is approved by the school board, so I didn't know.
So we had initially thought, Fran did some kind of checking with legal, and their view was there's nothing in state statute that says that you need to approve job descriptions. It's mostly what's been the practice in the district prior. Fran and I are both a little bit new here. We don't necessarily know what the practice has been.
We certainly wanted to share it with you and provide input
Yeah.
and get your input, but what our understanding was that didn't necessarily require a vote.
Maria, did you?
Actually, if you don't mind, I will need a motion to change the title of that position at TLC.
And that's what you'll get.
Please.
So what is this?
Or this,
So I'll make a motion that we change the title from, at TLC, from principal to early childhood coordinator, right?
Second.
Okay, seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? And abstained. 900. Okay. Does anybody else have any questions before she leaves?
I have a question, is, you might not have it now, but how many of these positions, there's a lot of special education teacher openings at a few schools. Are they long-standing openings that haven't been filled over time, or are they new?
There are long-standing openings that haven't been filled, would you say, Kelly?
The teacher one? Yeah, we have a couple that we've not been able to find.
Right.
Is that a problem with special education, is finding people for specific needs?
Well, I mean, part of it is, it's a critical shortage area, they're difficult to find. The other part of it, I think, honestly, is our pay scale. As far as our pay scale, it's on the lower side, we haven't been able to increase it. And then part of it is just that there's a lack of people going into education in general, especially with COVID, so it's kind of like a perfect storm.
Sounds like it also would have a major impact on services that we have to pay for out of district.
Yeah, I mean, I know that we've been having to hire temporary help for many of our para positions because we haven't been able to fill them, a couple of special education teachers as well.
We have one, during the season for special ed, and that was one. And I interviewed 40 people for paras and teachers, meeting with one special educator.
Jack?
Yeah, so I don't see, and for years, I know we were looking for a speech pathologist. Am I saying that right?
Speech pathologist.
Do we have one now? Because I don't see it here, or do we go out for that, or?
We do a combination, we can go out for it, but we also, I don't think we have an opening for a speech and language pathologist, correct?
No, we have all our own.
Yeah.
Okay, so we found them.
Yep.
Very good.
Yeah, they're not easy to find, but, yeah.
Yeah, very good. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for that.
Fast one if I
Wait,
could.
wait,
One
Mark.
fast one. Just dovetailing with what Mr. Woodworth had asked, is there a way to come up with that number, see that number? Would that be easy for you to pull, see how much money was leaving to place for outplacement services for these positions that we aren't able to fill internally?
You mean as far as having children leave the district to go to
Yes.
outplacement? I'm sure we can probably come up with that information.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome, thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Anybody else? Thank you, Fran. All right.
Thank you, Fran.
Looking, come on down for the music theory textbook.
Do we have to make a motion to accept this?
I think we do that in the personnel
In the end?
report.
Yep.
Okay.
Personnel report.
Thank you very much. For those who don't know me, my name's Kurt Schweiss. I'm Director of Music. One of the things that we're looking to do is update the textbook that we're using for our music theory courses. The one that we currently use is 10 years old. And the changing landscape of education the last 3 or 4 years, we were specifically looking for ones that provided more resources, especially electronic resources and supplemental resources for students to be able to access on their own. We, according to policy IJJ, we formed a committee consisting of myself, the music theory teacher, and another high school music teacher. We reviewed 3 textbooks, specifically for, again, those supplemental electronic resources, the quality, quantity, and style of musical examples, as well as, what am I looking for? Sorry, format and structure regarding how they're analyzed in the textbook there. The second paragraph on the executive summary just illustrates why we went with the one that we did. One of the things that we really liked about this specific textbook was that the musical examples that were presented were from a much wider variety of musical styles and musical time periods. The foundation of music theory and music analysis definitely takes place in the Baroque and classical era of music. With other textbooks, that's kind of where they started, and that's kind of where they stayed. What we really enjoyed about this textbook is that it provided a lot of examples from more recent musical time periods. So it's going to give students more ideas of how what they're learning about the foundation of musical analysis applies to the music that they're currently listening to. So it provides them more contextual usage of what they're learning in that music theory course. We currently have 20 students requests for that theory class next year, so we're looking to purchase a set of 25 textbooks just to have some extra, so if we have additional students signing up for the class down the road, we've got enough. Those would be a textbook, a workbook, and an oral skills book. It would also include electronic digital access to the textbook. That digital access, we'd essentially pay for 6-year access. So we would need to repurchase 6-year access down the road. That's something I can put in my budget request for the school year 29-30 budget. The textbook and the oral skills book would be a permanent purchase. The workbook we would need to repurchase each year. It's only $31 per workbook, so that's something that the music budget can support.
So you all need,
Mark, correct? We haven't approved a textbook in a while, so.
So the
yeah, I was like,
I'm
what we
gonna ask,
need to do?
I know it's on for first read, and so I'm just,
We do
yeah,
first
can you
read,
just
first and
help me
second.
remember the procedure here?
Yeah, so textbooks go first read and second read through curriculum and assessment, and then they go first read and second read at the board, and then ultimately the board approves the textbook, and then it can be purchased.
So we just need to make a motion to approve this for first read?
Correct.
Okay.
So moved.
Oh, are we supposed to see the actual, do we normally?
So you
Usually
can,
have some
so
access to it, I thought, just,
it could go either way. There was a copy and all the materials brought to curriculum and assessment.
okay.
I believe we can run upstairs and go grab it. We only have one copy of it. With some books, if the publisher gives us multiple copies, we do have one copy that we can provide. But it can go first read, tonight. You can look through that. You can.
Well, that's what I just wanted, so we'll approve it for first read, but the materials themselves are available for us
correct.
to view.
Correct.
I mean, I trust our curriculum and assessment committee to be making the right decisions, but it's odd to just say we're gonna approve it when,
Yeah.
but approving it for first read is fine, but that's why the procedure, we haven't done it for a while, so I wanted to.
Having had the advantage of being on the CNA committee, some of the reasons that they had chosen this book rather than the others, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is that it does align more closely if a student wanted to take the AP theory. So though we're not currently offering AP theory, we have a phenomenally strong music program, and you do have those students who will pursue that as their careers, both academically and after. And this is a tool that we would be able to provide them to be able to take the AP exam if they wanted to. And this coursework, these course books align, fairly closely, if not directly, with preparation if we did actually teach an AP class. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Awesome. I was listening.
Wow.
He likes to regurgitate a lot.
I know.
He gets it in and he spits it right out.
So there's been a motion made by Shauna. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Kim. Is there any other discussion on this?
Yeah.
All those in favor? Oppose and abstain, 900. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much. Ms. Strader's report.
Cool. Listen, so 5 things to share with you tonight. 2 of them are looking ahead. 2 of them are things that are happening currently that we want to build on. And the last one is I just want to speak directly to the Sandown North and to Sandown Central staff. So the first one in terms of looking ahead is that we've submitted a full service community school grant. This is in excess of $750,000. It's through UNH, and it's really partnering with organizations and community things that already exist. It's focused on students or kids from birth to age 8, and really about setting transitional activities for them to be able to access school in a successful manner. So we're going to be reporting back about kind of where we stand with that grant. And if we're awarded it, we'll certainly be reporting out how we're going to be using those funds and those partnerships that we'll continue to build with community organizations to really support early childhood learning. We all know the research around that and how important and fundamental it is over the course of the time and how much of a cost savings it can be over the duration of a student's life. So we'll be back in touch where we stand with that. The second is I know that there has been some board request through Katie and Kristen to look at the NEASC reports. For folks that need some acronym support, that's the New England Association of Schools and Colleges. It's an accreditation organization. They do some on-site visits, and they submit some observations and commentary, and also some recommendations for schools. So we have that report. It's robust. We're going to share it out for you in April. Just to give you a heads up, it will be on the board agenda, probably the second meeting in April, and we'll have some staff and administrators here to report out some summary of it, but also to open up for some dialogue and conversation here at the board. Current thing is that we just sent 2 teams out to the Youth Participatory Leadership Conference. This is the work of Bill Preble from the Culture of School Learning and Climate that Sandy alluded to earlier. We had a high school team go with administrators and teachers, a middle school team go with administrators and teachers, and this was a day put on by students who are currently engaged in this work in the second year of the work. Essentially what they're doing is they're looking at survey and other data points from their school. They partner with a group of teachers and administrators that examine that data, so they're doing action research and they're making recommendations for change processes in their schools. So we're going and kind of seeing the fruits of that labor as we deeply consider whether we want to engage in that work and begin setting up those teams at our middle and high school level. The hope is to talk with you folks and maybe have a presentation later in April. We make some recommendations about partnering with that organization and setting that up for some future work within our schools, both at the high school and at the middle school setting. So we hope to talk more about that in April. Second thing that has gone on and that we're going to build upon is that Ginger Drexel, the Director of Student Services, has set up a Title IX training with us that took place with our full administrative team this week. So more than 40 administrators there with legal counsel. It was a privileged conversation, which just led to really good back and forth conversations around students and their rights and how we're kind of need to move forward with the best way to investigate and to give dignity and due process to everybody. So those conversations are insanely important. It allows administrators to talk about what's happening in their schools and to talk through situations and scenarios that are highly specific and to really get counsel about the legality of that, which then should inform some future better practices. So we're going to continue those conversations. We're going to have the lawyer come back to meet specifically with our middle and high school administrators to talk specifically about discipline and to see what we can do to continue to keep our kids in school more often than not. Lastly, Sandown North and Sandown Central, everyone here knows that we're looking for building leaders to assume those positions at the outset of next school year. Part of that process is that I've spent full days or half days in those schools with an open door for the staff to come in and let me know what they need in their next leader, whether it's the skills, the knowledges, or the dispositions that they want those folks to have. And just wanted to share to the community of Sandown and specific to Central to all the people that are living in our 4 towns. After talking with those staff, you are in exceptional hands. They are deeply committed to their work. They are highly competent, and they do it with a sense of joy all the time. So I've really appreciated those conversations. I learned a ton about the history of the district and also what we need to continue to support the staff that are doing the good work in our schools. And to that end, we're just excited to hire 2 new leaders for the Timberlane Regional School District.
Thank you. That's great.
Thank you.
Personnel report, we do have.
So, yes, moving on to that, we have 2 resignations, both from Sandown, unfortunately. So I will make a motion to accept the professional resignations of Danielle Muir and Victoria Polito.
A second.
That with regrets.
Jack was a second. Yes. Got a motion, a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed and abstained. 9-0-0. All right. Committee reports. I will start on this side of the room, and
they won't be in.
They won't be
Since
in.
last time, no.
Anything?
Nothing since.
Wellness is meeting April 12th. Upcoming meeting.
And safety, we're meeting April 11th.
If you say so. I guess I have to look at my calendar, but that sounds like a plan, yes. I guess we're meeting April 11th, and there's nothing over to that side. So, no, we're pretty
Alright.
boring tonight, so there you go.
Yep, so that concludes this. We will be going into a non-public, so what did you look up, which one we need to go into?
No, I'm just wondering, future vendors, or vendor and payroll registers is never.
Yeah.
Okay.
Still has to be
It
on the
was
agenda.
Barbara, and
Okay.
then it was Michael, and they go through it
No.
meticulously.
No, but on our agenda, we don't.
Yeah, you don't need it.
We don't need it anymore on the agenda.
So let's, we have to change the policy to take
Okay,
it off.
so if we could do that, because it's just.
I know, it's just.
Yeah.
I mean, it's there, it's a form, we just, but.
Okay.
I mean, it's kind of like you get there, go, oh, wait a minute, we don't have anything to do.
Right.
Any other, other business?
There's no other business. Anybody have anything else?
I did just want to take 1 minute. I know some of these names have been thrown around a little bit from individual school reports that Matt has given to, but I do just want to read the name of the educators that were honored at the Y. Last night it was a really awesome ceremony. I was there. It was really great. So Sherry Bell, Ashley Conway, Dolores Coyle-Kirk, Mandy DeCue, Colleen Ferrante, Robert Finch, Dr. Lisa Furman, Jocelyn Fraga Mueller, Jessica Hood, Leslie Ladani, Kristen Lefebvre, Donna Levesque Dolan, Jennifer Libby Barth, Nicole McCarthy, Gina O'Connor, Lisa Palladino, Susan Sherman, Kate Sherman DeRoche, James Shivel, Nancy Stafford, and Kathy Watson, and the key speaker, John Manella. So thank you all so much for your commitment to our students. It's an awesome opportunity.
Thank you. Anything else?
No other business.
No other business? All right, we will be going into a non-public. I will need a motion for 91-A:3 under C and J.
Yeah, so moved.
Second.
Second, could we get a
Roll call.
who seconded it? Sean.
Yes, Paula Kane.
Yes.
Bree Woodworth.
Yes.
Donald Woodworth. Jack Sapia.
Yes.
Shauna Manthorn.
Yes.
Mark Sherwood.
Yes.
Kristen Savage.
Yes.
Katie Newton.
Yes.
Kim McCormick.
Yes.
We will not
We will not be conducting